Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio, and today we have a B2B sales topic. Today I want to talk about sales velocity. Sales velocity. I ran across this equation by Donald Donnelly. Used to have a company called TAS, now it is called the Ultify Company. And this equation, this sales velocity equation, is brilliant in my opinion, and I wanted to share it with you. I've decided to also incorporate this into my new upcoming book. Yes, you're the first to hear about it. In my upcoming book that will be released, I believe, probably in April if all things go well. I think it's one of my best sales books ever, and you're going to like it. That's it. That's all I'll say about that. But anyway, back to the sales velocity. So here's the equation for sales velocity to measure how fast you're bringing in business. Now, if you're a manager, what I want you to think about is if you have salespeople who report to you, maybe you want to set up a sales velocity, a number, a reference number, a base number, and then maybe measure your salespeople against that to see how they're doing. So here's the equation. Sales velocity is equal to the number of opportunities multiplied by the close rate or the win rate, multiplied by the average deal size, divided by the sales cycle. Let me say it again slowly. Sales velocity equals the number of opportunities you have in your pipeline that you're currently working on, close rate, your win rate. What's your close rate? What's your win rate? How many deals do you close? If you have 10 deals and you close 1 out of 10, that's 10%. So what's your close rate multiplied by the average deal size? In other words, for every order, on average, when you sell something, what's the average order size? Then divide that by the sales cycle. Now, the sales cycle can be defined in many different ways, so you'll have to determine how you want to define it. But typically, from first contact, from me picking up the phone, calling a customer, making a connection for the first time, to closing the deal is what I would consider a sales cycle. Now, on average, a B2B sales cycle is 8 weeks. That's the industry average. Some are longer, some are shorter. So 8 weeks, just to keep that in mind. Now, so here's what I'd like you to do. If you're sitting down, you got a paper and pen in front of you, write the equation out. Let me say it again. Number of opportunities multiplied by your close rate, multiplied by the average deal size, all divided by your sales cycle. So let's walk through some of the examples and let's talk about this, because what I love about this equation is that it tells you that there's 4 things you can do to basically increase your revenue. If you increase the number of opportunities, guess what? That's great. If you can increase your close rate, your win rate, again, great. Average deal size, great. And if you can reduce your sales cycle, then again, that really helps your sales velocity. So let's go through some numbers here. Let's say that you had 20 opportunities in your pipeline. Your close rate is 40%. Your average deal size is $40,000, and that means you have a sales cycle of 8 weeks. That means your sales velocity is $40,000. Now, let's kind of play with these numbers. If I can increase the number of opportunities I'm working on by 10%, in other words, go from 20 to 22, I can actually influence the sales velocity, and instead of making 40,000 on average, I'll make 44,000. Notice that just by bringing in 2 more deals, my sales velocity went from $40,000 to $44,000. Now, here's what's also interesting about this equation. If you could increase the number of opportunities by 10%, you go from 20 to 22. If you can increase your close rate by 10% again. In other words, instead of winning 40% of the deals, you win on average 44% of the deals, right? And let's say you can increase your average deal size by 10% again. So you go from 40,000 to 44,000. And if you can decrease, because remember, we're always trying to decrease our sales cycle, the time to sell, by 10%. So in other words, instead of 8 weeks, you go down to 7.27 weeks on average. If you can do that, let me repeat, increase the opportunities you have in your pipeline by 10%. If you can increase your close rate by 10%, increase your average deal size by only 10%, and decrease your sales cycle by 10%, you can increase your sales from $40,000 to almost $60,000. $40,000 to $60,000. In other words, by simply increasing your opportunities, close rate, and average deal size by 10% and decreasing your sales cycle from 8 to 7, 10%, you can grow your velocity from $40,000 to $60,000, which means you can have an increase of 25%. I want you to think about that if I can increase these 4 areas, or really 3 areas and decrease 1, I can increase my sales velocity by 25%. Now, this is big. This is huge. You really have to kind of capture what I'm trying to say here. Let me say it again, and I know I'm repeating myself, but this is so important that I want you to get it, because I want you to start calculating your own sales velocity by simply increasing the number of opportunities you have in your pipeline by 10%, going, let's say, from 20 to 22. Increasing your close rate from 40% to 44%. Increasing the average deal size from 40,000, let's say, to 44,000, and then decreasing your sales cycle from 8 to 7 weeks. You can increase your sales velocity. You can impact your sales velocity by 25%. I mean, this is powerful. So I want you to calculate your own sales velocity. And then what I want you to do is, as you're working through the numbers, ask yourself, look at the number of opportunities you currently have in your pipeline and ask yourself, what would it take to increase the number of opportunities I have in my pipeline by 10%? What would I have to do? What additional marketing do I have to do? Do I have to do more online marketing? Do I have to do more offline marketing? Maybe go do some face-to-face meetings, go to trade shows, whatever. What can I do to simply move the needle from 20 opportunities to 2 opportunities? And then, how can I increase my close rate? How can I get better at closing by just 0.4%? If I go from 40% close rate to 44% close rate, how can I do that? How can I just move the needle up a little bit? And then when you look at your deal size, again, ask the same questions. How can I increase the average deal size? Maybe I can upsell. Maybe I can cross-sell more products. Maybe I can add on different items. Maybe create a service agreement around that product so it can increase the average order size. What can you do to increase those 3 variables? And then ask yourself the last question: how can I decrease my sales cycle? In other words, how can I sell more faster? What can I do? Maybe I should take more time setting up the meetings. Maybe I should only take meetings when the decision maker's in the room. I really want you to start thinking about this, because what I love about this equation is that it simplifies what you need to do. You simply need to focus on 4 things, 4 areas where you need to improve on: the number of opportunities, your close rate, your average deal size, and reducing your sales cycle. If you can focus on those 4 things, how to improve each of those metrics, you will increase your sales, you will impact. And again, what I love about the equation, besides its simplicity, is that it gives us a roadmap. It tells us, what do we need to do? What actions do we need to take when we talk about the opportunities, close rate, average deal size, and sales cycle? Again, implement this. Come up with suggestions, try it out, and leave me some feedback, because I'd love to hear what your results are. Anyway, that's it for this Sales Influence podcast. As always, I thank you for your time. By the way, don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. I'm getting a lot of great questions, so I really do appreciate them. Keep them coming. Also, check out my sales training website. You know the site, seminarsonselling.com, where you'll find great training videos for you or your team to help you grow your business and make more money. Anyway, lastly, I'd like to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.
Every manager can feel it. The difference between a motivated, value-driven sales team and one that's stuck in a rut. CEOs know the difference too. They can see it clearly in the profit and loss columns. The question is, how do you get your team to this elite level? Is there something extra you can do to break through the remaining resistance and equip them with the right mindset to grow your business? Yes, there is. But you're not going to do it with one of those cheesy inspirational speakers or some self-proclaimed guru. What you need is someone with a real business track record to deliver key insights in a captivating way, to give your team the right tools for selling in today's tough marketplace. Enter Victor Antonio, experienced executive, innovative thinker, compelling speaker. He's ready to deliver the message you need your people to hear. Not with a canned speech, but a customized, dynamic keynote designed to deliver results. Bring Victor Antonio to your next event before the competition does.